friends, welcome to my channel. Thanks so much for stopping by. My name's Caitlin and today I'm going to be showing you how to make paleo pizza. Now, you might be wondering, what is paleo? Why am I doing it to my pizza? Well, for starters, let's talk about what paleo is. So, paleo, also known as the caveman diet, it's essentially a diet that is very similar to how our ancestors, cavemen, used to eat. It's supposed to be really good for you because there's no grains, no dairy, no added sugar. Essentially stuff that's like really bad for you, makes you gain weight, doesn't consist of it. So it's mainly like meats, veggies, fruits. A lot of people think of being paleo as just like a super like bleh diet, like it's not fun, it's super strict, when in actuality, that's not the case. You just have to learn how to make it fun. And so I'm going to show you how we're going to make it fun today. We've got a couple recipes that we're using here today to make this pizza. I'm going to link all of them down below, but this dough recipe comes from gluten-free on a shoestring. Shoestring? Yes, sorry, I'm looking at my phone while I'm doing this because I don't have the recipe memorized because this is actually my first time making it too. But I know it's going to be super bomb. So gluten-free on a shoestring recommends using olive oil as your oil for this pizza dough. However, we use avocado oil in this house. You're gonna need honey. You're gonna need warm water, active dry yeast. You will also need 1 egg, that's at room temperature. You will need kosher salt. I hate when recipes say kosher salt. Like, I get it. There's probably some sort of pizzazz there, but don't feel pressured to use kosher salt. Use whatever salt is in your house, preferably sea salt. Hopefully you don't have bleached table salt in your house, but if you do, it's okay. It's okay, we're learning. I personally am going to be using Himalayan pink salt because that's what we carry in our household. The recipe here says tapioca starch / flour. I'm going to be using arrowroot starch because that's just what's in my pantry. And I didn't really feel the need to go out and buy tapioca flour. Almond flour, and then whatever pizza toppings you desire, but we'll get to that later in the video. I'm going to be reading off my phone because, like I said, this is my first time doing it too. In a large bowl, place the warm water, olive oil, and honey and whisk to combine well. Great, let's do that. We've got local honey, and it's really sticky for some reason. Gross. Avocado oil, best fruit ever. Oh, Jesus. And then warm water, which is, I don't have a packaging label for that. I'm so sorry. So we're just going to take our bowl here. We're going to pour in a 1/3 cup of warm water. Great. We're going to use 3 tablespoons of your oil of choice. Like I said, I'm doing avocado oil. My hands are sticky. Like, okay, I understand that honey is sticky, I just don't know why it's sticky outside of the jar. Before we get too much farther into this recipe, I should probably put up my hair. I'm gonna do that now. And it's probably just gonna be this like jank little bun that's sitting on my head, but it's okay. If you are in someone else's house doing this, especially now that we're in a pandemic, I would say wash your hands. Actually, I'm just gonna wash my hands anyways because I did just touch my hair and I don't wanna send a bad message to y'all, BRB. Great, fingers are washed, let's do this. So we've got 1/3 cup of warm water in our bowl. So I don't have a tablespoon measurement. I'm sure most people don't, unless that's a thing. If that's actually a thing, please let me know because I would love to invest in a little tablespoon measuring thing. What I do know is that 3 teaspoons equal 1 tablespoon. So I'm just going to count to 9. And then next we need 1 tablespoon of honey. Alright, so I'm going to count to 3 now. 1. It's pouring out rather slowly because it's honey and sticky. In a large bowl, we're going to whisk these items together. And we're just going to whisk it all together. Great, that's whisked. So it'll look a little something like this, trying super hard not to pour it out, because that would suck. And then we're going to sprinkle the yeast on top and let it sit for about 5 minutes. So it says 2 1/4 teaspoon active dry yeast. This is active dry yeast. It also says that you can use instant yeast if that's what you have in your household. And if you are using instant yeast, it is 1 3/4 tablespoons. This is approximately 2 1/4 teaspoon. Is it teaspoon or tablespoon? Did I say tablespoon? teaspoon. If I said tablespoon earlier, my apologies, it's actually teaspoon. Please do not pour an abundance of yeast in your mix because that's probably not going to turn out well. Essentially, you're just going to take 1 packet of this. This comes in a 3-pack. I'm trying to figure out where I guess I just can cut it. Cut. Alright, we got my packet open. And I'm going to take the whisk out for a minute, set that beside me, and we're just going to put that in there. And it says, sprinkle the yeast on top and let it sit for 5 minutes until foamy. So we'll wait 5 minutes, check back in when it's foamy. Okay, so it's been 5 minutes. It said wait for it to get foamy. I personally am not seeing any foam. I have given it just a couple more minutes just to see if it's doing anything. Not doing anything, so I'm just going to go ahead and move on to the next step. 1 egg. And we're just going to whisk in the egg. Crack. And then we go whisk. I'm kind of interested in seeing how this recipe turns out with honey. Like, I don't know if that's in there for like flavor purposes or if that's just to make it combine somehow. I don't know. This is gonna be fun. Gonna be a good time. Great. And then we're gonna add, it says add salt and then 1.5 cups of the tapioca flour, which I said we're going to be using arrowroot starch. Let me grab that. Well, kids, as it would turn out, I've been bamboozled, and I need to do a better job of figuring out what ingredients I actually have in my house, because I have very little arrowroot starch. So we're just going to kill this bag, and then whatever else I need, we're going to be using coconut flour. 1.5 cups of that. Let's see how much arrowroot starch I have. So this recipe might be a little bit mucked, but that is okay. That is a-okay. I've been able to substitute these flours before and it really hasn't been an issue. Not with the dough, obviously, but I've made other recipes where it wants one thing and we were just like, oh no, we don't have it, so we just use something else. It's fine. So I got like a solid quarter out of that, which is fun. Okay. Come on. Okay, that's about a cup. I'm not really one of those people in the kitchen who like measure everything exactly. For the most part, I just kind of wing it. Obviously with baking you want to kind of have a more exact measurement, but when it comes to just other recipes, like I usually don't even use my measuring cups, I just kind of eyeball it. However, if you are new to cooking, I would recommend just going with whatever the recipe tells you, just to be safe. You know, especially with these paleo recipes, like I have been trying to be better about measuring things, just because I'm not really sure how it's going to turn out. I'm fairly new to the paleo thing. I've been eating this way for 4 months, roughly. So of course I'm still learning about everything that goes on with this. By no means am I an expert. I just realized that paleo actually can be fun and flavorful and fulfilling if you try hard enough. Because that's the thing with me, I'm from the South originally, okay, so like I demand flavor, but I don't want to eat healthy and have to sacrifice flavor, and I also don't want to eat flavorfully and sacrifice my health. So with this, I kind of feel like I can have the best of both worlds. Like, yeah, obviously I'm not going to be eating paleo pizza every day, that's not going to make me lose weight, but it is a better way to do it. You get what I'm saying? My Himalayan pink salt, as mentioned, half a teaspoon. So I'm sure it's fine if you accidentally do a little bit more than a half. Your dough might just be a little bit salty. That's fine. I like salt though. We're going to whisk until a smooth, sticky batter forms. Alright, so let's whisk. Whisk, 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 whisk. Definitely got a batter forming. Awesome. Should look something like this when it's all said and done. Okay, and then next it recommends that we switch to a spatula or a wooden spoon, which I have both. tablespoon them. And we are going to stir in the almond flour and then stir in the remaining tapioca. Let's just do the almond flour first because I've got the 1 cup. And I'll measure out the 1/4 cup in just a second. So we're gonna stir in the flours and it's gonna start looking a little chunky. Just gotta persevere, girl. Just keep going at it. It's gonna mix in eventually, and then you're gonna have a ball of dough probably. It's kind of a good workout for your arms. It's not like the toughest thing I've ever had to stir, but still definitely it's not just like super easily stirring either. It should look something like this. So then the next part is we're going to dust the table and get a little bit dirty with it. Dust your hands with a little tapioca flour and press the dough into a ball, kneading it a bit to get any floury bits mixed in. If it's too sticky to come together, add additional almond flour, a tablespoon at a time. Great. I'm not sure if it matters if you're using tapioca starch for this. Awesome, you're following the rules. Your pizza might turn out better than mine. Wow, that like did nothing. I'm assuming the starch is going to be a little bit better because it's more starchy. I don't know, we're just gonna go for it. Great, so. Gotta press it into a bowl. It's kind of like playing with Play-Doh. Ooh, here misses the days where they could just make little burgers or whatever out of colorful clay and just call it a day. Yeah. I would very much like to go back to those times. You know what? Actually, I should just invest in Play-Doh anyways. I'm a kid at heart. I can continue to be a kid. I'm just going to put this mass here for a minute and work on the other stuff, and then hopefully I can come and bring it all together. I'm just going to combine these balls of dough together to make one mega bowl. Mega bowl? Mega ball of dough. Look at this mass. Look at this mass of dough that I mashed. You're going to, where did I just read it? Return the ball of dough to the bowl. Done. Cover with plastic wrap and set it to a warm place for 45 minutes. Oh, well, okay, I guess let me go preheat my oven. This is why I should have read the instructions a little bit ahead of time so that I could. It's my first video. We're gonna cover that and then we're gonna wait for the oven to do its thing. So that's covered. I'm just gonna slide this over here. While we're waiting for that, why don't we go ahead and make our pesto? We're gonna take a look at our pesto recipe. So this is a Whole30 pesto recipe. Whole30 and paleo kind of tend to go hand in hand. I find really the only difference is that Whole30 tends to be like a lot more strict. But I think that's because people usually just do the Whole30 for 30 days and then they're like, cool, back to real life. This recipe comes from Light Health HQ. You are going to need a half a cup of walnuts or pine nuts. I'm going to use walnuts because while I do love the taste of pine nuts, they're kind of pricey at the store, not gonna lie. So we're gonna use walnuts. We're gonna use 3 cloves of garlic minced. Now keep in mind, whenever recipes call for garlic, I never go by what they suggest. I'm always just like, yeah, load in the garlic. Like, let's go. I've never met anyone who doesn't like garlic, and if I did, I would probably think they're a vampire. I love garlic. I'm not a vampire. So we're just gonna use however much garlic we want. If you want to stick to the recipe, by all means, 3 cloves of garlic, go for it. Oh, sounds like the oven is ready to go. I'm just gonna put that in the oven real quick. We are going to need 3 cups of fresh basil leaves. We're gonna need 1 lemon juiced. I'm just gonna be using the lemon juice I have in a bottle already. If you wanna use a whole lemon and you have a juicer, go for it, do your thing. And then also 1.5 cups. It says here extra virgin olive oil. Again, your oil of choice, go for it. I'm going to be using avocado oil. And then salt and pepper to taste. Great, so the instructions here, we're going to heat a skillet over medium-high heat. Once the pan is hot, we're going to add the walnuts in. So let me go get that skillet going. We got walnuts from Kirkland's because we do love Costco. And we're just gonna, I think that's hot. I guess I don't actually know. I'm gonna turn up the heat a little bit just to be safe. Kind of let them chill there. We're just gonna do this for about 2 minutes. Our walnuts toasted. They're a little bit brown on top. I don't know if you can see. There we go. It's focusing. So we've got our walnuts toasted. We're gonna move on to the next step. Next, we're going to combine the walnuts with however much garlic we want because, yeah, in a food processor. So let me grab that. Small change of plans. I have no idea where my boyfriend put the food processor, so we're just gonna use a blender instead. It should be the same. Walnuts. Really, it is better if you have a food processor, but this will do. We're gonna add our garlic. Like I said, the recipe recommends 3 cloves. I'm just gonna start dumping until I think it looks good. A lot of juice. Garlic. Also from Costco. We love our garlic, so we buy it in bulk. That's probably good. I don't know exactly how many cloves it is, but that's at least 3. It's gonna be super loud, I apologize. My blender has an ice crush option. It wants you to pulse it if you have a food blender. Since I don't, I'm gonna be using the ice crush option. And so you wanna do it until it's about, like, the walnuts are chopped, so. Next, we are going to add the basil, and then same thing, we're going to pulse until it's roughly chopped, so let me go grab that. So the recipe wants 3 cups. I am just going to use my entire package of basil. That should be maybe like a little bit over 3 cups, but it should be good enough. I'm just going to, normally I do pull off the leaves, I'm just going to throw on the stems for a little bit of extra flavor. Shove that in there. Okay. You might have to push it in a little bit. Just be careful not to hit the blade. Alright, so update. I did remove the stems because it was just not having a good time. And we're all about having a good time here. So, next we're gonna add lemon juice. So it wants the juice of the lemon. We don't have a lemon, we're just gonna wing it. So just like a little splash. That should be good. We're gonna blend that. So now what it wants us to do is take the oil of choice and slowly add it to the blender while it's on low speed. I'm a little bit nervous to do this because blenders usually when they're left open, it's not fun. If you are using a blender and you have one with a little hole like this, I'd recommend using that. Otherwise, you are just going to get schmutz everywhere, and we don't really want schmutz everywhere. A lot of oil. Alright. We're gonna start with the 1 cup and then work our way there. So put this top back on low speed. Covering the top while I do this when I'm not pouring. So the trick is that you want to add it slowly, very slowly. So I poured the cup, now I'm going to measure out the half measurement and then pour that in. That's looking super wet. Next it wants us to add as much salt and pepper as desired and just pulse it for a little bit. So let me go grab salt and pepper. Me personally, I like salt, so I'm just gonna sprinkle a pretty generous helping. No measurement here. This is truly just an eyeball thing. That's probably good. And then I've got this pepper from Trader Joe's. Just gonna grind that in there. And I'm sorry you can't see like my head when I'm speaking when I'm all the way up here. One, I'm tall, but two, these counters are also pretty tall. Alright, let's pulse that for a bit. I've got my pesto ready to go, and now we are going to do the next step of the dough recipe because our dough has had a chance to get heated up and do its thing. So next what it wants us to do is place a pizza stone in the oven, preheat it to 375 degrees. Here's my pizza stone. I've actually already got the oven preheated to 375, so I'm just going to let this kind of hang out in there and get heated up a little bit while I do the next step. So next it wants us to get a large sheet of parchment paper. Let's say like yay big, so like, yeah. Seems pretty large to me. Oh, don't curl. Maybe flip it on the other side so that it doesn't curl. But we're going to take the dough and we're going to pat it on here. It says 12 inches in diameter. If you are like me and do not carry a ruler with you wherever you go, we're just going to eyeball it and wait until it looks like a proper pizza circle. We'll brush the top of the dough with a little bit of olive oil and sprinkle with a pinch of sea salt. Got a little dough baby here. She did kind of rise a little bit. You see? The plastic also broke, which is concerning. So we're just gonna... Oh, Jesus Christ, she is quite crumbly. Quite crumbly. So, warning. Your pizza crust might be... Wow, that is very crumbly. In some ways, this is easier than making like an actual pizza crust because it's not as like it doesn't want to stick to everything, you know? But in other ways, this is kind of difficult. So we're just gonna flatten that out, and she's breaking in certain parts. We just gotta squish her back. So it seems to be that the more you're like kneading it, the less crumbly it will be. You just have to kind of bear with it. And I could not tell you if this is 12 inches in diameter. I feel like it's enough for like a personal, well, it's a little bit bigger than like a personal pizza is what that looks like. So this is what it looks like. Honestly, I think that's pretty good. So we're gonna go ahead and sprinkle it with the oil, which I have just a little bit left in this bottle, so I'm gonna just get that on there. Perfect. Rub the top. It says brush it. If you've got one of those brushes, then like you should probably do that. I'm just using my hands because that seems to be working out a-okay. I'm excited how this is gonna turn out because I think this should be like a very like, it seems like it's gonna be like a pretty flaky crust. Great. Got some salt on there. And we're going to carefully transfer the parchment with the dough, this guy, onto our pizza stone. So let's get that back out. Alright, so here comes the tricky part. Now we just have to get this onto that. So, oh boy, how am I gonna do this? I guess, let me just put it on the, God. Yeah, because it's just gonna like break the second I do it. I think what I'm going to do is just leave it on the parchment, but have it on the pizza stone. So I'm going to tear off the excess parchment I don't need. This might be a mistake. It's okay. We're here to learn. And so I'm just going to let that chill there a minute. And so now, before I can stick this bad boy in the oven, I have to make my cashew ricotta. Well, I've messed up already, because apparently you're supposed to let the cashews soak for 2 hours. We don't have 2 hours. This thing's pretty much ready to go now. So instead what I'm going to do is boil the cashews for 10 minutes, which is the other option. It lists, but it is preferable if you let them soak, just to ensure. So what we need for this recipe, we need 1.5 cups of cashews. It says we need a teaspoon of lemon zest and then a tablespoon, or 3 tablespoons of lemon juice. I'm just gonna do an extra tablespoon of lemon juice because I do not have lemon zest. Should be fine. We need 1 tablespoon nutritional yeast, 1 teaspoon, it says white miso paste. That's actually not paleo, so I'm gonna use tahini instead as a substitute. 1 clove of garlic. Again, that's arbitrary. Do as much garlic as your heart desires. 1/4 cup of non-dairy milk. In this case, I'm going to be using cashew milk. And then 1/4 cup of water. So great. Let's boil our cashews. Let's see, we've got our cashews, also from Costco. Alright, I'm going to add some water to this, get it boiling. So while I'm waiting for the cashews to do its thing, I'm going to put the basil pesto in a different container to use for this pizza and then also for future uses, because I gotta eventually use the blender to do the cashew ricotta. So give me just a second. Yeah, I've got my blender cleaned, I've got the pesto in a different container. While we are waiting for the cashews to boil, we are going to go ahead and start adding the other ingredients to the blender. Start with the lemon juice. So like I said, we're going to do 4 tablespoons because I don't have lemon zest. So we're going to count to 12. That's 12 teaspoons. I'm actually going to do 10 because I realized it said 1 teaspoon table zest, not 1 tablespoon lemon zest. So I don't want it to be like too lemony. So we're actually just going to do 10 tablespoons. Go ahead and do 1 tablespoon nutritional yeast. This is what that looks like. In case you've never seen it before, I know when we were first learning about nutritional yeast, we were just kind of like, what the heck is that? This is what's going to make your stuff taste super cheesy. So you can find it in the spice aisle, typically. I know that's where we found ours at least. So just 1 tablespoon. I'm just going to sprinkle a little bit extra because, you know, we like the cheese. And we continue on, so I'm going to add a teaspoon of the tahini. Just gotta grab the tahini. It is, honestly, I don't entirely know what tahini is. It's used in a lot of Mediterranean dishes, I do know that, as well as a lot of paleo dishes. So when you first open the bottle, there's like a layer of just liquid on top if you just want to take like a spoon or something and mix that around before you get anything out of it. You're going to be a lot more successful with your dishes. We just need 1 teaspoon, so probably like 1 spoonful. I'm just going to try to get some. I'm just going to go ahead and pour that in there, then maybe I'll just add like a teeny bit extra just to ensure there's enough substance in there. Add some good. Now we're going to add some garlic. So again, we're just going to kind of eyeball it until I feel like I have enough. That's probably good. 1/4 of a cup of non-dairy milk. Cashew milk. Cashew, good old zoom in. I know it says vanilla on the top, but it's unsweetened, so I think it'll be fine. In worst case scenario, I just have vanilla cashew ricotta. It's fine. I hear it's a delicacy in some parts of the world. So I'm just gonna start with like half of this of water, and then if I need more, I'll add more. I just don't want it to be too liquidy, you know? Alright, so we've got everything added. We're just waiting for the cashews. Should be just a couple more minutes. I'll drain the cashews, and then we'll blend this. While I am waiting for that though, I am going to go ahead and put the pizza dough in the oven. It says just the dough for 8 minutes. It looks like there's 7 minutes until the cashews are done boiling, so that should be perfect. So I'll go ahead and do that. My oven takes a minute to cook anyways. We find it tends to lean on the cooler side of things, so we usually have to add a couple minutes to it. So now it's at 6 minutes, so if I let it run for like another 2 minutes while I get the cashews boiled or drained and everything, should be good. Obviously, you know, adjust your cooking times to your oven based on how you know it runs. That's just our oven. It does what it wants. Alright y'all, I've got my cashews boiled, ready to go. They're a little bit steamy in this pot right here, but we're going to add it to our blender. Blah, blah, blah. And then we're going to get ready to blend. Also, I totally forgot to mention before we go farther and get this cashew ricotta blended, this recipe comes from It Doesn't Taste Like Chicken. Love the website name. But so the recipe is, as if you couldn't tell, it's meant to be just like a vegan cashew ricotta, and we've modified it to make it paleo. Great, so let's blend this thing. Alright, so I've got it all blended. It's in this blender here. I'm just gonna try a little bit just to see if I like the consistency and the taste of it. That actually does taste like ricotta. That's kind of weird. Like, I'm not saying it is ricotta, but it is, I'm like, yeah, you know, I could see it. It's a little bit more watery than I would like, which now I'm really glad I didn't add that extra water. But I think the texture is overall pretty good. So I'm gonna go ahead and work with this. So we've got our crust. Now we get to add things on it. So we're just gonna keep this simple. I'm just looking to do like a pepperoni and cheese pizza with a basil pesto, which maybe doesn't sound that simple, but I'm not gonna go crazy with the toppings or anything. Just kind of keep it kind of low key. So we've got our basil pesto. We're gonna go ahead and brush that on top. Which, by the way, I don't think I mentioned, the pesto came out a little bit more liquidy than I'm used to. But that's okay. I think it'll still be a great tasting pesto. We're just gonna slob that on. Ah, yes. So next we're just gonna add little dollops of the ricotta. Obviously do whatever pizza toppings you want. This is just what I'm doing, especially since, like I said earlier, this is my first time making a paleo pizza, like ever. So I just want to stick with what I know I like. But maybe in the future I will try this again, but with different toppings. If y'all would be interested in seeing that. I could maybe do like a chorizo breakfast pizza. I could do maybe like prosciutto and figs and arugula. Oh my god, that sounds so good. But you know, stick with the classics. There's a reason why it's classic. So we are going to pop this back in the oven. And it says to let it cook for like 5 minutes. I'm gonna keep an eye on it. At 5 minutes I'll check on it, but if I think it needs to be done a little bit, it also says that you can broil it for 2 minutes. So I might have to do that because I know she runs a little bit cold. So let's wait for that to do its thing. I'll check back in just a second. Okay, y'all, so here is our finished product. I'll get a little bit closer just so you can see the deliciousness. I did not end up broiling it for 2 minutes. Instead, I just let it sit in the oven for an extra 2 minutes, so cook time of 7 minutes total at 375 degrees. I'm going to let this cool a little bit, top it off with some green onions I have in my fridge, cut it up, and then let's sit down and kind of chat. Alright, now we're here with our little slice of pizza. Let's give this a shot. Okay. So, notes to take from here right away. I guess use more tapioca starch. I don't know tapioca specifically, arrowroot starch might work. Otherwise your crust is going to be super breakable. Okay. Yeah, I am super satisfied with how that came out. Notes for next time, if I do decide to make this cashew ricotta cheese again, I will add a little bit of umami to give it more of that savoriness I expect from cheese. Oh, hi kitty. This is Maestro. No, you cannot have my pizza. Yeah, otherwise I think, oh my god, get out of here. Overall, I am satisfied with how this turned out. The crust, I think I would have liked it to be a little bit more crispy, so I don't know, I think maybe next time I just need to try and flatten it out even more. So that way it has time to kind of like crisp and do its thing, but otherwise, yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty, like, I think the only thing that makes me believe that this isn't like real pizza is the cashew ricotta, the cheese. But yeah, otherwise I feel like it's pretty legit pizza, so I'm psyched. It's been really fun experimenting with Ilya recipes and just seeing like what I can come up with. because like I said earlier, you know, being paleo, like, you don't have to just, like, limit yourself just, like, grilled chicken and green beans. Like, okay, if we left it to my boyfriend, like, he would be like, yeah, let's just do that for dinner. But I'm like, no, I demand flavor, I demand just excitement, you know? So, I want my food to make me feel good, but also taste good, too. Like, yeah, I could just take, a Soylent, like, just drink Soylent and be, like, the perfect human, but I don't want to do that. I want to, like, enjoy the journey, you know what I mean? But yeah, so it's been super fun experimenting with these paleo recipes. I'm sure you might be wondering, like, well, why do you eat paleo? Like, why? Great question. So, it kind of started when this pandemic happened, which we're still here for some reason. So when the pandemic hit, I know a lot of people were kind of like, yeah, I'm gonna be healthy and be my best self ever. Now's the time to do it. Yeah. And I kind of followed suit too. So what happened with me personally is, okay, let me start from the beginning. So on March 13th, aka Friday the 13th, ironically enough, I got unemployed for the first time. I got laid off from my job. This is when things were really bad. So I got laid off. I was just kind of sitting here like, oh my god, what do I do? Like, depressed, kind of. Like, nowhere near the bottom of depression that I have experienced, but I'm, you know, you're just kind of like, oh my god, what's gonna happen? I'm unemployed, I've got student loans, I've got bills. Like, this was before I knew, like, all of this stuff was going to happen with, like, the bonus and, oh, it's chill if you're unemployed. Like, we'll figure it out, it's fine. Everyone's in the same boat as you. But at the time, like, I was just freaking out, and I kind of, put, like, in order to just, like, have myself not think about it, to just, like, focus on the good, we started cooking a lot, which is great, you know, because before that, it's like we had been going out to eat a lot, or just not eating very healthy. So we started with cooking a lot more. It's a great habit, but it got to the point where we were cooking, like, unhealthy-ish things. Although, like, to be fair, like, we were cooking with what we had, because my part-time job, the company was super gracious enough to do, like, a weekly food donation for all of its employees. We got a lot of food from that. God bless them. We also, like, 1 or 2 times got food from my full-time job that I got unemployed from, or laid off from. So basically, we were just eating what we could. Like, we weren't being super, like, we weren't focused on eating healthy. We were just focused on surviving. And then in April/May, I got a job with a temp agency to go work for this local mortgage company. Had to go out to this job, and with my full-time job, I was so used to there just being, like, a kitchen in-house and a chef to cook for us. It's not super fancy, it's a catering company, before anyone's just like, oh my god, what office did you work in? So, like, obviously we have to have a kitchen there because we're a catering company. Nothing super fancy, but just, you know, like, I was used to just having my lunch provided for me. This job didn't offer that. This job, it's like you either have to bring your own lunch or you have to go get lunch from somewhere else that's not there. So with the pandemic, a lot of restaurants were not open or operating. A lot of restaurants were closed. So for the first couple of weeks or so, I was only there a month. So let's just say the first 2 weeks, I was going out to eat for every lunch shift, basically. So my choices were like Subway, or I think I did sushi once, but basically, like, not super great food choices. Although Subway is better, but it's still, like, sandwiches and not the best food for you. So then eventually it turned into, okay, let's cook even more and make sure that I have food that I can take with me to work. Like food I can just easily pop in the microwave, call it a day. So we kind of got on this roll of like doing at-home workout and bringing my lunch with me, which was great. But we kind of hit a point to where like we would do the workouts and then we would eat really bad because we were like, oh, we worked out, it's fine, no big deal. And so I don't remember if I like saw a recipe on Pinterest or something, but just somehow I was browsing the internet one day and the topic of being paleo came up. And so I was just like, you know what, I think I want to try this out because it seems like it could be really good for us, just kind of like, and maybe just do like a reset on our bodies to not eat so trash anymore. And so that's what we did. We decided to go paleo. So we cut out the grains, we cut out the dairy, gluten, beans. There's a lot you can't eat with paleo, but you can, you know, find loopholes to satisfy your cravings, like this pizza, for example. You know, instead of making like, you know, your traditional pizza crust, you could do a cauliflower crust, you could do a crust with alternative flours that don't have wheat in them. Like I used almond and coconut flour. I know they've got so many flours now, like apple flour I've seen, arrowroot starch, tapioca. There's probably a flour for it at this point. It's kind of absurd. But yeah, so we started eating paleo, and we realized within a couple weeks, like, yeah, we don't have the same sugars and dairy and stuff as we used to, but we feel so much better. Like, and the great thing about eating paleo is that a lot of the food is super low calorie, so you don't have to track calories, which is something that my boyfriend Caleb was a big advocate of, is tracking the calories. But now it's just kind of like, you know that it's going to be low cal, but you'll still get the nutrition you need to function. So it's not like you're going to be like 0 calories a day, but you're also not going to have like 3,000 plus a day unless you're just eating like every single hour of the day. But if you're just doing breakfast, lunch, and dinner, you should be able to maintain your calorie limit for the day, or be like pretty much under. So we did this and we started feeling good, and it also works because his mom she has celiacs, so she can't eat gluten stuff anyway. So whenever we go to visit them, it's like, oh, we can make something paleo that we're familiar with the recipe, and it'll be good for her. Like, we don't have to worry. It's no problem. So that's another thing I really like about being paleo, is that it pretty much, except for like vegan, because unfortunately you gotta eat the meat to get your protein and stuff, but otherwise it covers pretty much all the major food allergies. You know, you don't have to eat dairy, you don't have to eat gluten. Nuts, okay, so no peanut allergies, but like there's almonds. So if you have a tree nut allergy, it might be an issue, but peanuts, like, you can't eat peanuts. We are pretty flexible with paleo dieting because like, we don't need to be paleo. We're doing it because we want to be. Like, we don't have any sort of dietary restrictions that make sure we have to stay paleo. So we're pretty flexible with it. So we do our best to eat paleo, but like, we might go out to eat, or not go out to eat because we're in a pandemic, but we might get takeout from like our favorite Vietnamese or Southern fried chicken or sushi, you know, like every once in a while. We don't go crazy with it, but we have the freedom to do so if we choose to. You're not supposed to eat legumes when you're paleo, but like every once in a while we'll do hummus, because there's really no proof that legumes are not good for you. In fact, more evidence shows that legumes are pretty good for you. But yeah, so there's different levels of being paleo. So like, we're pretty flexible. We don't stay paleo all the time. Some paleos have an autoimmune issue, so they have to be like very particular about how they eat their food. Some paleos believe that so long as your dairy is grass-fed, it's okay. We just don't do dairy in the house. We try and do grass-fed meat if we can. Not always easy to find, especially for a good price. We'll do like ghee, which I think is technically, I don't actually know what ghee is. I think it's like a butter. I don't know. We do that though, and we do non-dairy milk. But otherwise, if we're trying to do something dairy, we just make like a cashew dip, or like I said, zucchini cheese, or there's a really good Philly cheesesteak peppers recipe I have. You make like this mayonnaise sauce, but it tastes cheesy. So good. I'll have to show you how to make that sometime. But yeah, and as someone who like severely loves cheese, like that's been the hardest part for me about being paleo, is not eating cheese all the time. So it's very important that I have these substitutes that I can use whenever I just get like a hard cheese craving. Although I found like the more the time goes on, the less I really need it. Like sugar, no problem. Bread, no problem. Cheese, I'm like, but it's not that big of a deal for me anymore. And actually, I find that if I eat too much cheese, like actual dairy cheese, whenever we pick out or something, I find that like my stomach feels really bad. So I think that also helps me like to remind myself not to go crazy, because I'm like, I don't want to feel bad the next day. Crazy how that works, right? But yeah, so that was a delicious slice of pizza. And I think that is all for this video. I think I'm going to stop it right here. So thank you so much for watching if you've made it this far. My plan is to post and upload every week, once a week. I haven't determined the date yet, just because I'm very new to this, so the schedule might be a little bit off. But stick around. I'll definitely be uploading more recipes / mukbangs for you to watch and enjoy. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe. Like I said, I'll be out with more content pretty soon. And if you have any requests for what you would like me to cook next, you can comment down below. Or just comment anything that your heart desires, really. You know, what toppings would you put on your pizza? Do you like my glasses? Did I do something that was really weird and you would like for me to never ever do again? So, hope you guys have a great day. Stay safe, stay well, and I will see you the next time.